But there isn't any tea in it. Well, I'm overwhelmed. Particularly in view of something I overheard the other day. I happened to be spending half an hour seated on Mount Olympus, otherwise known as Spyglass Hill.
That's his private bog, you know.
I was quietly minding my own business when I heard a voice I knew very well. No names in this story, but he recognized himself. I managed to screw 10 bob out of the pater for old Algy's farewell present. I kept 5 shillings for myself and gave 5 in to Grierson, who said I was a very generous chap and gave me a toffee. So, if the owner of that voice cares to come over to the old rectory any Sunday afternoon, I shall give him a cup of tea out of this splendid teapot, and he can give me the 5 bob he owes me. Well, you know, we've had our share of brilliant men at Bamfield. I can't claim any credit for them. They'd have got on wherever they were. But I do like to think that the school has been able to do something for the average thick-skulled bungler, which is what most of us are at bottom, eh, Mr. Alcock? So, I'm just going to tell you about 2 chaps who were called Petherbridge and Rogers. Goodness knows why they popped into my head after 20 years, but there they are. They'll do as well as anyone. Now, Petherbridge was one of our skyrockets. He went on to become president of an insurance company or something. He got the OBE or the DBF or whatever it is these chaps get. And Chuff Rogers never got anything, except once, when some kindly soul put him down for the lower 4th effort prize because he'd pulled up from bottom to 27th or something. So, speech day came along, and I could see Chuff Rogers down there fairly bursting with excitement as his turn came along. He had a woman with a baby sitting next to him, and this baby seemed to take a special fancy to Chuff. He kept grasping at his finger and making goo-goo noises and all that sort of thing. And then just as Chuff's big moment was coming along, this baby gave a most beautiful smile and was dramatically sick all over his best suit. And over himself, and over the mother. Oh, she, poor woman, was beside herself with shame. I thought Chuff would be too, but not Chuff. He pulled out the strangest looking handkerchief I have ever seen. Wiped the mother down, wiped the baby down, tried to wipe himself down, and then, only then, when he'd settled everything to his own satisfaction, he went up for his one and only prize. First things first, you see. And that is what I call a Bamfield success. And that is why I'll never forget Chuff Rogers. But I've completely forgotten Petherbridge.
He wants a staff meeting in the bog.
His express instructions, gentlemen. The senior staff to meet the headmaster at 10 a.m. in the old school latrines.
Poor fellow's lost his senses. Go back and tell him we're schoolmasters, not plumbers.
It did seem perfectly serious.
Oh, well, it's original. You must give him that.
A lot of water's been passed since my last visit, though. What can the man want?
Well, whatever it is, it must be something pretty fundamental.
Carter, you're making jokes again. I don't like the way things are going at all.
Gentlemen, the reason why I took the somewhat unusual step of asking you to meet me here was that I could not believe that any members of my staff were aware of the state of these latrines. It is my belief that the model tone of a school is often most clearly reflected in its sanitary institutions, and what I've seen here today has shocked and disgusted me more than I can say. I await your comments. With the greatest respect, Headmaster, don't you think you're exaggerating a bit? I mean, well, they're not really so dreadful, are they? I should imagine that most schools are much the same.
I sincerely hope you don't mean that. Paula Jones, I had no idea what sort of schools you've been associated with, but no school of mine is going to tolerate such filth.
I believe it's a little homely tradition, Headmaster. One place in the school where even the most lowly can make his mark. If they can immortalize themselves here, they'll leave the rest of the walls alone.
Then it is your view that the English public school boy has a deeply felt need to scribble on walls like a common gutter snipe.
Exactly, Headmaster. And very well you put it.
I see. I notice that many of the names are inscribed in pairs. Has anyone any explanation for this?
Well, they'd be friends, of course.
Friends. I see. And what about this? Carruthers is the fastest thing in schoolhouse. I want to know who Carruthers is and what this message means.
I think I can help you, Headmaster. I remember Carruthers from 1913. He was killed in the war.
Then perhaps you could enlighten me as to the meaning of the remark.
With pleasure, Headmaster. Carruthers, as far as I remember, opened the bowling for the first 11.
I see. Very well, gentlemen. Tomorrow this building will be completely redecorated from top to bottom. It will be spotless and will remain so. I will not tolerate filth in this school in any shape or form. That will be all.
Curious man. Well, now do you suppose we'll be allowed to get on with our work?
PJ? Seems a shame now, isn't it?
What on earth are you doing here?
Came to see you, of course. I did mean to write you a letter, but then I thought, no, why don't I just come down and pay him a visit?
How did you find it?
Well, David, I used to work here, remember? All I had to do was ask for Mr. Powlett Jones' house.
Who did you ask?
Some boy. I expect he thought I was somebody's mother.
Oh, you don't look in the least like anyone's mother.
Oh, dear. Should we come away from the window? Has this all been a dreadful mistake?
No, I'm sorry. It's really lovely to see you again, Julie.
Oh, dear. I have never been terribly good at knowing what's the done thing.
What do you mean?
I'll tell you later.
Would you like to dine in hall tonight? It could easily be arranged. I just have to send someone. I'm afraid all I can offer you is whiskey and cream.
But there isn't any tea in it. Well. I'm overwhelmed, particularly in view of something I overheard the other day. I happened to be spending half an hour seated on Mount Olympus, otherwise known as Spyglass Hill.
This is private bog, you know.
I was quietly minding my own business when I heard a voice I knew very well. No names in this story, but he recognized himself. I managed to screw 10 bob out of the pater for old Algy's farewell present. I kept 5 shillings for myself and gave 5 in to Grierson, who said I was a very generous chap and gave me a toffee. So, if the owner of that voice cares to come over to the old rectory any Sunday afternoon, I shall give him a cup of tea out of this splendid teapot, and he can give me the 5 bob he owes me.